Hello, my name is Bradley and I'm your host of The Internal Game. So I have gotten some requests about making a video on health, or like perfect health, right? Okay, so that's my job to give it to you, right? So before I get into that though, I am not a health care provider. There's no doctor in front of my name. There's no schooling to back me up, right? None of that stuff. So you don't have to listen to me. That's fine. But as far as this law of assumption stuff, this whole infinite reality stuff, I have something to say as far as perfect health. So you don't have to listen to me. It's fine. Here we go. So back when my pap was my grandpa who raised me, and my best friend, like the most important person that's ever been in my life. He was like the only constant, consistent person I ever had in my entire life. And when I was younger, he was a strong, solid man. He was like my rock, my everything. Like to this day, I just like when I think about him, he's not with us anymore. But like when I think about him, I just like so thankful that he was in my life, right? But like if you guys knew him, he was just Superman. And yeah, so his mother, my great grandmother, died of cancer when she was 67 years old. My pap would always tell me things like, hey, it's kind of in our blood to like be careful about smoking cigarettes, be careful about da-da-da, because it's kind of in our blood, like we could get cancer, da-da-da. I was like, I didn't really, luckily for me, I never really bought into it. I was like, no, I'm fine. I was a kid, but I was like, no, I'm fine. And he was trying to help me, right? But I was like, oh, trust me, I'm good. And when I found out that he had cancer later on in life, like when he was diagnosed with cancer, I had just started learning about this. It was like 2020. I think he got cancer in like 2016, but I started learning about this 2019. But like, yeah, cancer in 2016. He beat it with the chemo stuff. It came back, and when it came back, I started learning about this. And I remember calling him and I said, "Hey, Pat, remember how you used to always talk about how grandma like had cancer and at like 67, and I was like, now you're 66." I was like, did you fear that was going to happen to you? I was like, because I remember you telling me some stuff about stuff like that. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, genetics is big, kiddo. He's like, of course I feared if you're getting cancer. And he's like, and look, I was right. I was like, yeah. And I tried to explain to him, like, hey, Pat, because I started learning about this stuff. I wasn't really super set on it yet, but I didn't really have another choice. Like, I was like, man, we gotta fix this. Had I known what I knew now, I would have placed a lot more things in my awareness that weren't that. I can assure you that. But at that particular time, I was talking to him. I was like, Pat, well, let's be grateful. Let's look at some I guess perfect health stuff, right? And in this time, I realized like it was going to be really hard for him. Again, I didn't know what I know now about like what I could have done, but like he started to base his whole identity off of esophageal cancer. Literally, like he got in Facebook groups. Anytime that you talk to him, he would tell you something about it. He also was like in a lot of lower states of being because like he was upset, he was mad, he was scared. Superman was scared. And he had this whole identity wrapped around, and then he beat it again, with the chemo stuff, if you want to call it beat it, like it. And then it came back again, and it was like in 2021, it was the last go. But I remember talking to him, trying to get him to talk about other things, and it wasn't like it was all he talked about, but because it was such a rare thing that he had, right? And a rare survival thing that he had. And because he truly believed that, and in turn wanted to talk about it a lot and say I'm a cancer this, or I have this, and get in his Facebook groups and talk to everybody about on the phone. And of course, and no one else is wrong, right? They're just kind of like living, they're seeing him, gets sicker, and then he's calling like, oh, I'm losing. It's just this constant story that is linked to this particular condition. That's what he's telling his head, that's what he's telling in his speech. It's what he is identified with online and identified with in mind and body. Like, it just was all linked to this thing. And now he's not with us anymore. And it was like the hardest thing I ever went through. And stepping into this stuff now, like I try not to talk about it because the health stuff, because I just try to tell you guys it's all the same stuff. Again, I am not a healthcare professional. But I will say that there is a version of my pap that he never stepped into that would have never had to deal with those circumstances. And he would still be here. In human form anyway, right? So I know many stories of people who were like, I know someone right now who, including myself, like who went to the doctor said something, and I was like, no. And they're like, hey, come back to get a second opinion. And I was like, no, it's okay. Never went back, never thought about it again. I'm fine. Same thing with these people. Like, I know many stories like this. So what I mean is it's all the same stuff, dudes and dudettes, homies and homegirls. It's all the same. You're going to call yourself perfect. You're going to think the world is perfect. You are going to tell a new story about your health and how perfect it is. And then when you see or feel, like, so when you see the outside somebody, like, never mind, when you feel like maybe a physical manifestation of something, your stomach hurts, your back hurts, something like that, you're going to give it a good meaning, or a meaning in general that's not linked to said condition. That's not linked to ill health, bad health, right? So you heard me talk about how my identity became that. And then you heard me just say how, like, when I went to the doctor and someone said, hey, we think this might be something, you need to come back. I didn't identify with that. I said, no. I'm fine, right? But I could have easily went the same way. I can't even tell you what they might have found, whatever, because there's nothing. Like, I don't know. I don't identify with anything other than perfect health. And a lot of the reasons I hear this stuff in the one-on-ones, not just about health, but I mean literally about anything. A lot of times why it's so difficult, actually every time that it's so difficult to embody this new version and step out of this identity, of course we're used to it. You're used to it, but the problems itself that you say that you don't want, right? You don't want this condition. You don't want this. You don't want to keep getting ghosted by guys or girls. You don't want to keep, like, nonetheless, these things that you say you don't want, it's hard to give up because your identity is so intertwined with the actual problem. Like, my pap got a lot of attention from this problem, this condition. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. I'm just saying that, like, once he made his identity and he got attention from it, he was able to take a back seat and rest for a little while instead of being like, I don't know. All I know is that it's difficult for people to split with a problem when their identity is wrapped up in the problem. So if you have a condition and you're used to calling your family and your friends about it and then telling you, oh, it's going to be okay, like, and you have all this story, and they got this story, and they're calling you, asking you how you're doing, and you're in these Facebook groups, and you're constantly searching, trying to figure out what's wrong with you, or does this get worse, or like, your identity is wrapped up in the very thing that you don't want to experience. Therefore, keeping it in your experience. So, there is a version of you that doesn't experience ill health. There's a version of you that doesn't experience I mean, anything. I don't want to talk too much about like specific, like I get caught off guard because it's like, it's all the same stuff. So I want people to like, it's all the same stuff. But there's a version of you that doesn't experience that. There's a version of you that doesn't have these conditions. See, what you're doing, you're not trying to fix a condition. You're not trying to heal a condition. You're not trying to change a condition. You are changing yourself into a version that doesn't experience that, because it's just a byproduct of you. Like, whether that be a person, whether that be a condition, whether that be your finances, whether that be experiences that you have, it doesn't matter. They are just extensions of you. They are just byproducts of who you are being, what you identify as, who you say you are, who you feel you are. So if you are identified, just logically speaking here, if you are, and you know everything's just a reflection of you, everything's just a byproduct of you. If you are identified with said condition, and you get all of your attention because of said condition, and you feel less than because of said condition, and you're not empowered because of said condition, and you're in these states of being because of what you think is because of said condition, and you're in all these groups and you're constantly telling this story about said condition, that's what you experience. But if you're able to, do you really have a choice? Like, I'm being serious. If you want a new life, like, do you really have a choice? Like, I mean this with anything. But if you're able to drop this version, drop this story, be willing to let go of having those conversations on the phone about said condition. Be willing to delete the Facebook groups about said condition. Be willing to start giving new meaning to said condition. If you have a stomach ache, and because of what you think is said condition, and then you're used to like feeling it, and you're like, oh God, again, or anything, right? And you think of said condition. Your job is to drop old story about said condition, and then you're going to say, hey, I must have ate something wrong. must have been those hot Cheetos I downed earlier. I don't care if you ate hot Cheetos or not. You say some shit like that. Or you can say what you actually ate. Just be like, oh, it must have been that. Or you can even go, it doesn't matter what it is. You create a meaning that is related to something entirely different than said condition, because why would it be? Because you are perfectly healthy. If I'm perfectly healthy, which I am, and I get a stomach ache, which I don't, but if I was, I would say, oh wow, must have been those hot Cheetos. Man, that's all right. If I was low on energy, I would say, man, must have just not slept too well last night, because usually I have top-notch, unlimited energy because I'm perfectly healthy. So like, man, just not get some more sleep. And then you keep doing that until it changes. Then you continue it. But like, I'm just saying, if you were a perfect version of yourself, be logical here, and perfectly healthy, if you had a stomach ache, would you think it was because of some condition? Would your mind go to like the worst thing? No, you'd be like, oh man, must have been those hot Cheetos. And you can even use the whole, like, you're stepping into a new version of yourself. You can even do the whole like, oh man, stomach's a little, back's a little, whatever, my energy's a little down. It's okay. That's just the new version of me, baby. Like my glow up was so fast, so strong that like my body's literally going through like growing pains, because like I am a whole new version of myself. I'm perfectly healthy. It doesn't matter what you assign it, like how you assign to me, or necessarily what it is, as long as it's not anything to do with something that's permanent, something that you've previously identified with, any type of condition, any of that story. You can make it whatever it is, as long as you're saying it's not permanent, it's going away soon, I'm perfectly healthy, must have been something I ate. Like, it doesn't matter. You create the good meaning, because that's how it's going to be with every area. You are perfect, life is perfect. So if you're perfect, you must, like, your health must be perfect, your life must be perfect, right? You're going to tell a whole new story about how things are, man. Like, you're walking around saying, man, I feel so good. Woo, I feel so good. Like, Everybody talking about perfect wealth. I got perfect health, baby. I got perfect everything, baby. Like, you just get excited. Tell a new story. Even if you're not excited, tell a new story. And I'm going to start saying this in almost every video because I want to remind you, just logically speaking here, I deal with all the same stuff that I used to put myself through with you guys, right? You guys are just extensions of me. And when I say deal with, like, I'm honored. But, like, it helps me out tremendously, and me trying to feed it back to you, I hope this helps out, because listen, real simple here, logically speaking. If you know that the new story is the true story, like I'm telling you, and you're asking me or telling yourself or anything, what have you, and you keep bringing up this old story, and then just because you say, oh, but that's just old story, like, I know I'm talking about the old story, like, I see firsthand, I didn't see it myself, but I see firsthand how much people fight for this identity, fight for this old story to be relevant in the now. The only reason that it's even relevant in the now, that you're even seeing the things that you're saying, is because you keep telling yourself this, you keep being identified with this. And the second that you stop identifying with it and you start telling a new story and actually drop the old story, because your results in this new version of yourself, the results, the outside results, all that stuff is going to be equivalent to how much you're willing to let go of this old story. So if you're still, if you're speaking about this old story, if you're thinking about it, and then you're just like, oh, well, that's, I'm still talking about the old story. It's not the old story if you're still telling it. If you're telling it, that's the current story. So that's why in the one-on-ones I say, hey, get it out, tell me what you need, and then let that be the last time you say that. And you'll see people fight for it. And it's okay, I get it, I did it too. There's no judgment here. But, like, giving up identities is something you gotta be really, really done with. And if you're in this whole health game, trying to get perfect health, and there's something going on, you don't have another choice. Honestly, in any area of your life, you don't have another choice. If you want to change, you have to make the change and tell a new story. No ifs, ands, or buts, no excuses, create different meaning. But it's not the old story if you keep telling it. And whatever, remember, up here first, out there secondary. So it doesn't matter. And notice there's no future, no past. The only reason that, like, something seems real is because you've been focused on stuff from the past over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then you just keep experiencing it. Health, wealth, relationships, all that stuff. So you tell a new story. You create different meaning. And you always remind yourself how perfect you are. God doesn't get sick. The universe doesn't get sick. The identification with a human condition does. The small human being that doesn't know better and identifies with and believes stuff that, like, is possible for that to happen. Just like my pap said, oh yeah, I figured I'd get the cancer. Of course he did. And then he identified. And then once it happened, he could have easily told a different story. It could have went differently. I didn't know about this then. But like this anyway. But he identified with it. He kept it at play all the way to the grave. So don't do that. Tell a new story. Create the good meaning. And remember, if you're talking about the old story, talking about all that stuff, just remember, all that exists is right now. And it's not an old story if you're telling it right now. It's the current story that you're saying is happening. That's just logically speaking here. Again, not a doctor. Don't listen to me. That's all I got, guys. I'll see you in the next video. By the way, on the membership side, I'm gonna make a video here real shortly. I do want to start talking about like more adult stuff, like become, maybe like some things that adults do and becoming the best at that, right? Like with your person, because when you listen to these videos and you get your person back, don't you want to rock their world, right? I just want to keep it simple over. And by the way, there's nothing that I don't give for free on here in this YouTube side that it won't, if you listen to, apply, will change your whole entire life. But I'm saying, like, if you want to talk more, like, I don't say sex stuff, but like talk more stuff like that, and different types of experiences, different types of just membership side stuff where like I'm not going to deal with any people that aren't really involved in the community. You know what I'm saying? So, and we can talk about whatever. I'll put on polls. We can come up with fun ideas and just really boss up in all levels of life. I just wanted to make sure that it was different than just this free stuff that I got, and have fun. We're all having fun here. It's all a cool experience. So I don't know. Thinking out loud. Love you guys. You are perfect. I promise you this. I promise you. Don't identify with the problem. Embody the solution, which is a new version of yourself. That's perfect. That's the best. That's perfectly healthy. And you will not see those experiences. You will not see those circumstances. That's all I got. Love you.